In this challenge video, it's going to be up to you to use callbacks and asynchronous execution to create another function similar to getPuzzle. Though instead of getting a puzzle, we're going to be getting the details of a country based off of its country code. So down below, we already have the code that actually sets up and makes the HTTP request. All we really need to do is abstract that away. So we don't want all of that code sitting in line right here. We want to break it out into its own function, much like we did for the code that runs behind the scenes when we call getPuzzle. So right here, there are 4 steps for getting this done. I'm going to go ahead and paste in the challenge comments. The first thing you're going to do is create a new function for getting the country details. You can go ahead and put this over in the requests file where our other function lives. Step 2. This new function is going to be called with 2 arguments, the country code and the callback function. So right here, we call getPuzzle with a single argument, our function, but we've seen a function getting called with 2 arguments where one is a callback before, addEventListener. The first argument is the event to listen for. The second one is the callback function. In your case, the first one is going to be the country code, and the second one is going to be the callback function that fires when we either get the country details back or something went wrong and we get an error. Now, step 3, you're going to make the HTTP request and call the callback with the country information. So instead of just passing back a specific piece of information, you can pass back that whole country object. And then inside of the callback, you're going to use that country object to just print the country name. So that's it. Steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just to clarify, we could have set up getPuzzle to take another argument as well. For example, I could pass in the word count that I want to work with. So maybe I want to get a puzzle that has 3 words. Let's go ahead and change that to something like 1. So in this case, we're requesting a specific type of puzzle. Now currently getPuzzle doesn't expect these 2 arguments, so we would just have to make a change over here in requests.js. Instead of just getting in the callback, we first get in our word count value. Then as the second argument, we get in the callback, and then all we have to do is use word count somewhere in this code. I'm going to put it right here where I currently have the static value 3. I'll use the template string syntax and inject in there word count. And all I have to do is swap this out from a regular string to a template string. I'm going to cut out the string's contents, delete the single quotes, add in some backticks, and paste the code in. Now we have a version of getPuzzle where we can call it passing in the specific number of words we want. Over here, I'm getting teamwork. If I switch this to 2, I am getting pocket money. So go ahead and knock that process out down below for getting a country by its country code. Then actually use the function. You can search for your country or you can search for MX to get Mexico. Either way is going to get the job done. Pause the video. When you are done, come back and click play. How'd you do? Let's go ahead and kick things off by defining that function. I'm going to take all of the code from over here. I'm going to copy it. Actually, let's cut it out, and then over in the requests file, we'll make the new one, const. We can call this anything we like. I'm going to call it getCountry. We'll set it up as a function, and then we're going to go ahead and just paste in all of the code we had from over there. Paste it all in, uncomment it, use the tab key to indent it, and there we go. Now we do need to set up the arguments for getCountry. Remember, there are 2. The first one is the country code, and the second one is the callback function. Now we currently have a local country code variable. We're going to remove this. No longer will it be something statically defined. Instead, it's getting passed in as a function argument. Now down below, what we really need to change is what happens inside of the ready state change callback function. It's inside of here that we want to pass the country information into the callback. So right here, instead of logging out country.name, I'm going to call the callback function, passing in those 2 arguments. The first one, as I mentioned, should be the error, and the second one should be the country object itself. Perfect. Now we can move on to the error handler down below. We just printed a little message like unable to fetch the data. We'll do the exact same thing, but this time passing it as the first argument to the callback. Callback, passing in, unable to fetch data. Remember, an argument is undefined if it's not set up, so we can set up undefined like this. It's also perfectly valid and exactly the same to leave it off. Now we can remove this console.log and get country is all set up and ready to actually be used. Let's go ahead and do just that. I'm going to save the requests file, and over in app.js, we're going to call it. I'll call it right here, get country. I'm going to pass in my country code, US. Then I'm going to pass in my callback function. We know this callback function gets called with two potential arguments. We have our error and we have the country information. Only one of them is ever going to exist. Things either went well or they didn't. Inside of here, we can go ahead and set up our logic. If there was an error, we're going to do one thing. Otherwise, things must have gone well and we're going to do something else. Now, the something else, the success case, was for you to print the country name. So we can access that right here. I can use console.log. I can use a template string, country name, :space. Then right here, I will inject country, which is an object, .name. Perfect. For the error, we could just continue to print that error message. Whoops, had a few extra tabs right there. Up above, console.log, just printing whatever error was passed in to the callback. And there we go. This is all we have to do to abstract away all of the logic for actually getting a country by its country code. This code just cares about actually passing in the country code and getting the results back. It does not care where those results came from or how they came about. In this case, they came about via an HTTP request. Let's go ahead and actually test things out. I'm going to remove the challenge comments, save app.js, and over in the browser, what do we get? Right here, I get country name, United States of America for US. If I switch this argument out for a different country code like MX, what do we get? We get country name Mexico. So there we have it. We've created a callback function for getting a country. We now have one for getting a puzzle and getting a country. That's where we're going to stop for this one. We'll continue talking about asynchronous JavaScript in the next one.